Welcome back. This is Module 1, Part 2 or Section 2. Difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics in the Indian context. Economics is broadly classified into microeconomics and macroeconomics. Both deal with resource allocation but focus on different levels of economic activity. The distinction between the two is crucial in understanding policy making, business strategies, and government interventions in India. Microeconomics in India. Microeconomics deals with the behavior of individual consumers, firms, and industries. It studies how they make decisions regarding resource allocation, production, pricing, and consumption. In India, the microeconomic principles influence markets, pricing policies, consumer demand, and business strategies. Consumer behavior and demand in India. The demand for electric vehicles (EVs) in India surged by 155% in 2022, driven by lower running costs and government incentives. Gold consumption in India remains high, with 774.1 metric tons purchased in 2022, influenced by cultural preferences and price fluctuations. So, microeconomics studies consumer behavior, and we have given two examples here. Market structures and pricing strategies. The telecom sector showcases oligopoly with Reliance Jio, Bharti Airtel, and Vodafone Idea dominating 90% of the market. Fast moving consumer goods (FMCG) companies like such as HUL and ITC use price discrimination strategies, offering different product sizes for rural and urban markets. This is also a part of microeconomic. Basically, it studies the market structure, individual market structures. Production and cost analysis is one of the features of microeconomics. The Indian smartphone market follows the economies of scale principle, with companies like Xiaomi and Samsung reducing production costs by manufacturing domestically under the Production Linked Incentive PLI scheme. MSME sectors, micro, small, and medium enterprises contribute 30% to GDP but struggles with high input costs due to supply chain inefficiencies. So microeconomics also studies the production and cost analysis. So it works on an individual basis. Basically, it studies the behavior of individual consumers, firms, and industries. Labor market and wage determination. Gig economy jobs like food delivery and ride hailing services saw a 40% increase in employment post pandemic. Minimum wages in India vary by state, with Delhi having highest at 16,506 rupees per month as of 2023, while in states like Bihar it is significantly lower. So it also studies the labor market and wage determination. So this is what the scope of microeconomics is: to study the consumer behavior, market structures, production and cost analysis, labor market and wage determination. All of these come under microeconomics. Macroeconomics. Macroeconomics focuses on the economy as a whole, analyzing aggregate indicators such as GDP, gross domestic product, inflation, employment, monetary policy, and fiscal policy. It provides insights into national and international economic trends and helps in framing government policies. For example, the focus is on GDP growth and national income trends. India's GDP growth rate was 7.2% in financial year 22-23, making it the fastest growing major economy. The service sector contributes 53% to GDP, followed by industry at 29% and agriculture at 18%. So, macroeconomics studies the GDP growth and national income trends, inflation and monetary policy. India's consumer price index CPI inflation was 5.7% in December 2023, influenced by food price fluctuations. The Reserve Bank of India RBI set the repo rate repurchase rate at 6.5% in 2023 to control inflation. So, macroeconomics studies the inflation and monetary policy associated with controlling that inflation. So, as the inflation increased to 5.7% in December 2023, RBI increased the repo rate, repurchase rate to 6.5% to control this inflation. So, macroeconomics looks into all of this. Fiscal policy and government spending. India's fiscal deficit was 5.9% of GDP in 23-24, higher than the 3% target under the Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act (FRBM Act). Public expenditure on infrastructure increased with 10 lakh crore rupees allocated in budget 23-24, boosting employment and economic activity. So again, once again, macroeconomic studies the fiscal deficit and also government spendings, unemployment and labor market trends. India's urban unemployment rate was 6.6% in first quarter 2023, with youth unemployment much higher at 12 to 13%, meaning 12 to 13% of the employable youth, meaning people who can work, who can take up a job, out of that 12 to 13% were unemployed. And overall, in the urban areas, 6.6% of the population was unemployed. This was as of first quarter 2023. The informal sector employs over 80% of India's workforce. Informal sectors include small shops, kirana shops, then say stalls, small shoe shops or repair shops, and all of that. Limiting access to social security benefits. If you work in an informal sector, you may not get your provident fund. Those facilities may not be there. So it's macroeconomics also studies unemployment and what is the labor market trends, trade and balance of payment. India's exports reached $770 billion in fiscal year 22-23, with software services at $194 billion and petroleum products at $97 billion. The current account deficit (CAD) was 2% of GDP in 2023, driven by high crude oil imports. So our current account deficit was 2% of GDP, meaning we were we are falling short of the payment. That is, our expenditure was more than 2% in 2023 of the GDP. Government intervention and economic growth. Make in India and PLI schemes have led to a 76% in FDI inflows in the manufacturing sector, Between 2014 and 2023, the Digital India initiative contributed to UPI transactions crossing 15 lakh crore in December 2023, boosting financial inclusions. So this macroeconomics also studies about government interventions in the sectors of the economy and also studies economic growth, how it is growing. Microeconomics explains individual and business level decisions, while macroeconomics deals with national and global trends. In India, both fields are interconnected. Policies like GST, monetary policy changes, and labor reforms have macroeconomic objectives but impact microeconomic entities like small businesses and consumers. Understanding both is essential for businesses, policymakers, and economists working on India's economic growth and stability. Thank you very much for listening. Do consider subscribing and sharing it with your friends. Thank you very much.